I have heard that Eric Dubay, the famous flat earther, is worth watching when it comes to flat earth evidence. Apparently he has a list of 200 proofs that the earth is not a spinning globe, so I'll watch that video. In its totality, I know I have too much time, but what I discovered were actually 200 misconceptions. He sounds like a very confused guy. It's mind-bending how somebody can be wrong on literally everything. The chances of that are almost zero. If Eric is, let's say, a grifter, however, it becomes way more plausible that he just compiled a list of persuasive arguments that, when researched with a healthy dose of scrutiny, quickly falls apart. But when fired rapidly, yet with a calm and confident voice, it can still convince thousands. It's scary to see that at least 12,000 people are not able to see through his mistakes. I was reminded of Eric Dubay because one flat earther, Savage Blade, was spamming it in the comments. And that has everything to do with Wally. That's right, Wally Wears, strange name, is a sinister figure on the internet who has sent hundreds of people to my videos via a shoutout. Twice, in fact, already, so this video is some kind of a direct result of his generosity, and I cannot thank him enough. So, Wally, where's Wally? Thank you not enough for doing that, buddy. If you, by some disturbance of the multiverse, don't know who I am actually talking about, Where's Wally is a crazy good flat earth debunker, and he is building his own rocket in his garage as we speak. Hopefully everything goes well. Go support him if you don't already. Anyway, let's jump right in here and have a look at Eric Dubay's video, shall we? At a timestamp of around 51 minutes in the remastered HD edition, he's at misconception number
74. From Genoa, Italy, at a height of just 70 feet above sea level, the island of Gorgona can often be seen 81 miles away.
That's an interesting claim. Now, the footage that is playing when Eric formulates his 74th thing is actually still about the previous claim. So far for remaster, right? And he doesn't really provide visual evidence for his claim. A bit strange, since he clearly stated that it could be seen often. Maybe he had difficulties finding an actual observation that fits his description? Well, speaking about description, maybe he has a list of sources over there. But that's a negative. He only shares a link to his website. Oh, shall I click it? I shall click it. Ah! He got me there. Scary. Okay, let's go to Flat Earth, 200 Proofs, English. Aha, and there we have it at number 74. There is indeed a photo with some annotations claiming we are dealing with the island of Gorgona and also Capraia. I wonder where he got it from. There's no link to any source, nor is there a name of the photographer. A Google image reverse search on that photo only links to Eric's list of proofs in different languages and not to the original source. And TinEye, another of my favorite search engines, struggles to give us anything useful too. When we Google Gorgona seen from Genoa, we do find something. A Pinterest pin that presents a photo by Roberto Bolognesi. It doesn't really look like 70 feet above sea level though. Hey, and this photo also contains Elba and Corsica, two other islands in La Méditerranée. Link, however, is broken. Now in TinEye we do find one match where the name of the photographer is cropped out, and that is featured on a website with a strange URL for an apartment for 0 person's child, but no working link either. It all looks like a dead end. It's a pity I cannot find a link to the original photo, because without any details about the location or the photographer himself, we just need to blindly believe what Eric says. And although I'm convinced that many flat earthers do just that, that's not my style. You know me. But before we look further for any other photos on the internet, let's check PeakFinder real quick to see if we actually expect to see any of these islands. Placing our observer at the beach at sea level, that tells us we aren't supposed to actually see anything. But that's expected. But if I increase our elevation to 70 feet, well, that doesn't change that much. We are still looking at a blank horizon, aren't we? So I'm starting to doubt Eric's credibility here. Why did he not just share a link or something? Looking at Eric's list again, we see that the following 3 topics are actually just the other islands that are marked by the photos that we just found, all claimed to be taken from 70 feet above sea level. Well, that's an easy way to gather 200 proofs. Anyways, I noticed that they all look very similar to one another, almost as if they were taken by the same photographer, which would fit the 70 feet claim. Are these from a video maybe? So let's check YouTube. After an hour of watching YouTube and being distracted for a while, I found this video by Giorgio Vigo, labeled Corsica Vista da Genova, or Corse Vue de Gênes. And in this video, at about 1.5 minutes, we find the uncropped version of the photo that Eric Dubay uploaded on his website. Eric has this screenshot on his website, but without the photographer's label, meaning that Eric steals other people's photos and uses them by deliberately cutting out the photographer, making it very hard for his followers to track down his sources. Clever guy, but why is he so popular again? Let's watch the video and see what we can learn, shall we? In the beginning, we see our first hint that we are not at 70 feet above the water. It looks like we are high up in the hills above Genoa. But can we find the exact spot? For this, we need Google Earth and a lot of patience. We need to keep Corsica straight in front of us, since the plaque is suggesting that. And out of Genoa, 2 populated valleys wind themselves into the mountains higher up, and one of them seemed to be left of the observation spot. So let's do some work, shall we? There are a lot of these ancient forts, very cool but very distracting. On the other hand, actually all good candidates for our platform there. Aha, and finally this seemed to work and we got the exact spot. Took me longer than I'm showing here. So it wasn't at one of the forts, but at the Santuaria di Nostra Signora della Guardia. Even the radio towers here match. Beautiful, perfect. Another way to finding the observer's location could be looking at the actual observation itself, and after making the horizon perfectly horizontal, you draw a perfectly vertical line going through 2 recognizable landmarks. This works best if the horizon is somewhat in the middle, or if the vertical line can be drawn close to the middle. In Google Earth, we simply grab our ruler, start at this little mountain, which is Monte Rotonda on Corsica, and don't ask me how I know that, and then hover over the right crane here in the harbor. And we need to remember the heading. This is exactly at the moment where it jumps from 357.46 degrees to 0.47 degrees. And now we zoom out and place our second point somewhere far away, but only when the heading is right again in between 357.46 degrees and 47 degrees. If we now go back to our crane, we'll see that the line is indeed crossing that location. Now we can follow our line and see if there are convenient viewing spots that could be our observer's location. And here we see a little inconvenience. The sanctuary is not on this line at all. So we should conclude that Giorgio used footage from at least 2 locations, one at the sanctuary and one probably along this line. One way of being sure, well, is to contact the guy, and that's what I did. So I guessed that it was at Fort Begota, and Giorgio confirmed this. He made the observation there on a spot 474 meters or 1,521 feet above sea level. Not 70 feet. Eric was off by a rough 2,173%. And if we place an observer at that spot in Udeuschel, the online panorama creator that I love so much, and we let it develop a prediction with a standard atmospheric profile, we find a rather perfect match. And there is even Isola di Gorgona and Isola di Capraia. The cool thing about Udeuschel is that you can click on the terrain and it will bring you to a Google Maps spot that represents what you just selected. And that's how I got the Monte Rotondo in Corsica a minute ago. But if we check Capraia here, it turns out it is actually still part of Corsica. If we click on the island that is marked Gorgona, it is also Corsica. Luckily, the landmark claimed to be Elba is also Corsica. So those 4 islands that Eric described could be visible from 70 feet above sea level turn out to be just one and the same island, seen from a location that is over 1,500 feet above sea level. I contacted Giorgio again to let him know that he made a mistake in his video, but for some odd reason, He quickly stopped every contact, leaving a final message that said that if I wanted to talk about the visibility, he wouldn't reply anymore. Not realizing I was actually on his side. Giorgio did make an updated version of his video after our chat, where he stated the correct identification of the mountains, although I can't say for sure it has anything to do with my analysis. In older videos, he was already speaking about people arguing for all the peaks to be part of Corsica. His update made me happy, and I shared that feeling with him, but with no reply. But I'm also pissed. This took me a long time, finding the observation's source, Giorgio Vigo, and also actually finding the exact spot that he was at. Look, I think it's fair to say that I'm somewhat good at this, but I don't expect everybody who watches Eric's video to be as dedicated to me or to know as many tricks as I do. But what I do know for sure is that Eric has done everything in his power to make it as difficult as possible by stating the wrong elevation height, the wrong distances, the wrong names of the landmarks, and also by deliberately, and this is the most filthy thing, by deliberately cutting off the observer's name, the photographer himself. One can argue, yes, that Eric is just, I don't know, stupid, or that he didn't remember the elevation correctly or whatever, but you don't cut off somebody's name of a photo by accident. It's disgusting. And on top of all of that, he also messed up his own calculations. This video is not about the shape of the Earth. It's about conmen of the likes of Eric Dubay that are lying to millions of people and ruining their lives. These innocent people get brainwashed by the sweet little lies and lose their rationality, their trust in science, their ability to clearly steer through reality, probably their friends and family, and sometimes even their lives. And that, my dear fellow apes, is why you should never ever trust anything that comes out of the corner where Eric resides, no matter in what position he is trying to convince you. Although I have to say, he was somewhat right about Corsica. Not that it is visible from 70 feet, no, that was a lie, but he did place a photo of Corsica in his list. But why doesn't the silhouette of this island match the observation of Vigo? Because it's a fucking photo that wasn't even taken in the neighborhood of Genoa, and it took me 2 hours to find it, that's why. It's a photo taken at an elevation of 430 feet above sea level at Capo Berta, a 2-hour drive from Genoa, and it fits the globe, and it fails flat Earth. Why? Because the Earth is not flat, and Eric is a pathological liar. Take care, and bye-bye.